Hello everybody. Okay, so this is my Harm None video for the Mystic Maidens channel. I know it's really dark in here, but it's late at night. There's no good lighting around, so I figured you can see me. Might as well do it here. Um, Harm None. It's quite straightforward, but there's quite a bit that you can say about it. Aradia actually said this before, but Harm None came from the Wiccan Reed. Um, but it's become its own sort of ethical guideline, its own sort of moral snippet, separate from the Reed in a way, because there are so many that follow the harm none rule, but don't necessarily identify with the actual Wiccan Reed and don't practice that way, even though they do live by harm none. It's one of the main ethics and morals of witchcraft or a Wiccan, and chances are most people that you talk to will live by this rule. And again, very straightforward. It just means don't hurt anybody. Physically, emotionally, mentally, don't take away another's free will. Don't hurt anyone. And don't hurt yourself. That's included with anyone. You can't hurt yourself either. But harm none, you can't call it a law. And the reason I say that is because when you take it to the extreme and say, oh, I shouldn't step in the grass in case I step on a bug, or I shouldn't drive a car or take a bus or train or anything because the fumes could contribute to global warming, or could hurt someone's lungs that I pass by, or something like that. It's just impractical and unreasonable to expect yourself to live that way. There's no way you could live your life without having that danger there that you might accidentally hurt someone. But that's not what the harm none rule means. Harm none is more like um, don't hurt anyone intentionally. Don't do anything where you can see that it might have a negative effect. If you see that it might have a negative effect, don't do it. But, you're still allowed to use common forms of transportation, and you're still allowed to walk in the grass and things like that. Just don't intentionally try to hurt anyone. And think about your actions. And it's like your school teachers again. Think about the consequences, but you really do have to think about the consequences. You have to think about the effects on yourself and the effects on the people around you. Obviously, um, you don't want to get too obsessed, but the basic rule still stands. Don't try to hurt anyone. Don't hurt anyone. The exact wording changes. It kind of varies depending on who says it, what source you use, whatever. It basically goes, and at harm none, do what ye will, or do as thou wilt, or do what you will. Um, there's a lot of different variations on that, but yeah. And you know what? That second line's important. The whole two lines there, and at harm none, do what you will. Basically, it kind of embodies the view that we just want to live our lives. We want to let other people live their lives. They can do whatever they want. We don't care. They have the freedom to do what they want, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. And that's pretty much how most witches live nowadays. As far as I've seen, we do what we do. We do spell work and things like that for positive change. We don't want to hurt anyone. That's it. We want to be allowed to do what we want to do, but we don't want to hurt anyone in the process. And we want to let other people to do what they want to do as long as they don't hurt anyone in the process. And that's the basic idea. It's very simple, and I like it. Not only is it simple, but it's good because it allows people to have freedom to do what they want to do, to live the way they want to live, but also prevents them from doing bad things, from being violent, and from hurting other people, um, and other animals in the world and nature and everything, and themselves. Self-destruction violates the harm none rule. There are some exceptions to the, and actually, I'm not sure if they follow the harm none rule exactly. Well, lots of people live by harm none on a general basis, but also feel that if there's a murderer or a rapist or something like that, and you know who it is, or it's affected someone close to you, then it's okay to hex or curse them. Hexing and cursing is basically causing negative change that basically violates a harm none rule. But some believe that in certain situations, it's okay. When you have a rapist or a murderer, you want them to stop doing that crime as soon as possible. And you want to be able to see that they've gotten what's coming to them because it's such a traumatic experience. So they feel that it's okay to hex or to curse in that situation. The Dianic tradition is one example of that. Others feel that it's never okay to hex or curse. Personally, I've never been in that situation where I've never known anyone that I knew had been attacked by a rapist or had someone they loved murdered. At least, not that I've ever heard or that they've ever told me. So, and I've never known anyone who was doing those things, so I don't know what I would do in that situation. But I would like to think that I wouldn't try and hex or curse them. I believe in karma, or if you call it the threefold law, or whatever it is. Basically, they both say that when you put out something good, when you do good things are going to happen to you. When you do bad things are going to happen to you. And, it's not always cosmic. You know what I mean? It's not always you make fun of someone and then walk into a door. Or a door gets shut in your face and you break your nose or something. It's maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it's not always things like that. It's quite often, at least when you actually see it happening, it's quite often because what you did caused a chain of events that made some sort of negative change. And usually you can see that. Usually you can see that when you hex or curse someone, that's a bad idea. A bad example. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my head around my thoughts here. It's usually more like you do something and the chain of events kind of leads to something bad happening. My time's kind of racking up here. I'm sorry. But, that's a personal decision as to whether you think there are certain situations where you can hex or curse. Personally, I'd like to stick to the harm none, because I think that the karma will come to them. And, sometimes you can't see it. You're not that person. You don't have their lives. You don't know what's going on in their head, what's going on in their lives, and with their loved ones. You don't know. And that's just it. So sometimes you're not going to be able to see it when someone gets that karmic backlash. And sometimes it happens immediately, sometimes it happens in a few days, a few months, a few years, sometimes it happens in the next it's so unpredictable, it works in such mysterious ways, and I think it all has to do with balance and just keeping the world turning kind of thing. And you're not always going to see it right away. And I think that we need to accept that, and that when we start to try and get revenge on people, that's a horrible route to go down. Trying to get revenge? I mean, that's the type of thing that just consumes you. You can't get out of that. Well, if you let it consume you, it will. Revenge is not the way to go. Sometimes people need closure. And sometimes when people see that the criminal has gotten what's coming to them, they really can be at peace with the fact that it's in the past. They really can now move on with their lives. You know, and sometimes that's what you need, but you have to be careful. You don't want to go down the path of revenge. And it all depends on the situation, I suppose. But yeah, getting a message from my friend at the moment, and it's distracting. I want to talk to her, but I want to finish the video. Okay, I said most of what I wanted to say. It ties in with the karma threefold law thing because one of the reasons you harm none is because you know that when you do so, something bad's going to happen back to you, and it's not meant to be a fear tactic or anything. It really isn't. It just seems to be the way the world works, or at least the way I see it, or the way it's the way that a lot of Wiccans and witches see it. That whether they call it the threefold law or karma, they kind of see it as when you do bad things happen, and when you do good things happen to you. And that's another reason you kind of harm none. Just don't hurt anyone. We want to have our freedom, but we don't want bad to come of it. I think I've said everything I wanted to say, and I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful. Any questions or comments, you can contact us here or on my own personal channel. And I will talk to you soon. Blessed be.